said at the last meeting, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that in looking at a possible switch of voting machines and getting new voting machines, you were targeting 2020. The governor recently came out and said he was looking at no later than 2019. What kind of steps are you taking right now to implement that type of a schedule, and are you any closer to finding a machine that has a paper trail than you were last time?
Mm-hmm. Just a point of clarification, the directive is that we would have to be under contract by December 31st, 2019. With a system that meets the certification process that the Department of State has handed down to us, which is a system that has some type of paper audit trail. As far as where we are, 2 weeks from where we were 2 weeks ago, there is going to be a demonstration, I guess is the way you want to put it, that the Department of State is actually going to have in Harrisburg at the Farm Show Complex on the 26th of April. We will be attending that. So there's going to be a time where it's going to be for commissioners, election directors in the morning, and then that will be open to the public. I can tell you at this point, right now, the Department of State only has one company that they have certified with the new guidelines. We're being told that they're hopeful to have that process will be sped up, and that they would hope to have maybe 5 or 6 vendors. What we've done is we're going to be scheduling some vendors to come in so that we can look at all different possibilities of how we want to move forward, and obviously that I will keep the commissioners and invite them to any of those demonstrations that we have. We're going to go to as many as we can, get as much information as we can from the vendors, see what's out there, see what's going to be certified. We talk a lot about machines because that's what we have now, but there's different types of voting systems out there besides just machine-based. So I think we need to look at all of them and see what would best serve the voters of Lebanon County.
So when you say that you have until December 31st roughly to be in contract,
right,
are you looking at the 2020 primary, or is that...
The governor would like us to have it in place by November 2019 so that our first election is not one that is obviously a presidential year. I think that's a very optimistic outlook, but we'll do our due diligence. We'll see what we can do. Obviously, it all depends on the certification process, who's certified. We have a current vendor that we use that obviously is going to put something through that process and wants us to look at that, so we're going to do that. But we're going to look at other vendors as well. So it's early to know where we can be and how fast, but we have to remember that we're a new system. We're going to have to do training. We're going to have all of that in place, get our poll workers involved, have the public involved. I think we need to do all that and then see where we are.
Is the board comfortable with that time frame?
No. We're trying to redistrict
Commissioner
as
Litz
well.
speaks for the board in case you don't know, so you can put that in your newscast, Gordy.
We have to comply with what we're dealt. So I'd say no, but we will comply.
I think obviously the biggest thing is that with this is the funding aspect. I believe you and I had talked, there was some federal HAVA money that will be distributed to the counties, which my understanding that's going to be distributed based on our registration numbers. But then again, that's going to be far short of what we would need to replace our system. So we'd have to look at, the governor said that he's going to try to work with the legislative branch and trying to get something done, but at this point, could be county money, and so that would be something else that we're going to have to look at. And it's one of the things when we had talked earlier, before any of this happened, is what we wanted to do is that we thought it was important to make sure that we're prepared, we do our due diligence, we secure funding, and of course our current voting system is working very well. And so it wasn't something we felt, yes, we know we're getting closer to the end of the useful life of that voting system, but our voting machines are in very good shape, and we thought it could last through the 2020 election. And so this is just kind of pushing everything up.
I know we're putting the cart pretty far before the horse in this case, but as far as raising, I believe you said $1.4 million, and whatever HAVA money you get, which I doubt is going to cover the full freight. You can raise taxes, you can do a bond issue, you can take out a loan. At this point in time, do you have a preference?
Look, first preference, if there's some capital money in a fund available, maybe there's a combination of borrow and using capital equipment fund money. But yeah, that'll all be, whatever the best possible scenario would be, would have to be, when we find out which hand we're dealt.
Correct. And the 1.4 would be, as we had spoke on the phone, was that if we replaced voting machines with new type of ballot marking devices that would then also have to have precinct level scanners. So that cost could change greatly depending on what type of voting system we go with, that paper system that we go with. And so that's something that we need to look at and obviously have the discussion with the board and the commissioners as we move forward.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to know, in June, you have the first vendor set up to come in.
Yes.
Is that open to the public?
At this point, I wasn't going to, just because I think it's such an early stage that I think that it would be good for us to be able to see what they have, because at this point, right today, what they're bringing is not certified. So I know, speaking with ES&S, and that is the vendor that's coming in, you know, that's something they're working towards. But I think for us, I think we need to do the early groundwork, look at these systems, see kind of what we like, and then maybe have, you know, narrow it down, have maybe a couple we like, and then open those to the public. Because I even talked, because I had poll worker training this week and I have it next week, and one of the things I'm telling them is I want them involved as well, because I want them to come in and see some of these things. But I think that we need to look at I think, you know, my office and you as well need to be looking at some of this stuff at first, kind of maybe narrow down what we may want to do, and then invite the public in at that point. So I definitely want them involved. I just think it's really early at this point. At least that's my thought process on
I
it.
just recall that there was an expo, at the expo, where we invited all the vendors, similar to what they're doing in Harrisburg at the farm show, to allow the public to provide feedback.
Absolutely, and I think at some point that we can do something like that. I just think it's so early, and ES&S is our current vendor now, and they really wanted to come in and show what they had and wanted to show it to you, and so that's why I have it here in this room, just as an early stage. But I'm definitely open to doing something like that, and trying to schedule. I can tell you right now, the biggest thing is because of the timeline being so tight, a lot of the vendors are getting scheduled, and what we're being told by the Department of State is they're going to be doing a lot of these. They're going to be scheduling and having the vendors, and they're going to do it across the state. The one in Harrisburg is the first one that they're doing. They're going to do others. So maybe in correlation with them, we could do something as well.
If I may just be clear on one thing, I mean, when those demos happen, obviously it's a meeting of the election board, so from a sunshine perspective,
Has to be open.
it's open. But I think what Mike's saying is it's not intended to be, you know,
Kick the tires and.
yeah, like, you
Right.
know, a voter
It's not a hands-on.
demo type thing just yet.
Right, and only because I don't know the system, obviously. So once I get to see some of these and get familiar with them, and we kind of get an idea. Because honestly, I would like the board to be open to different types of systems besides just a ballot marking system where we have, you know, multiple of those at precincts and that such. I'd like to look at all different options, which would include paper ballots. So, you know, until we can kind of work those things out, I think that yes, we would be open because there are open, but just as far as having a media blitz and inviting everybody and please come see it, I think there'd be questions that I wouldn't be able to answer at that very first one because, you know, I haven't seen it, if that makes any sense.
Unless I'm convinced otherwise, I'm really not interested in having the public come to a vendor meet when it's not a certified vendor. I mean, I would think that would be a waste of a lot of time for or why would we expose somebody to something that isn't even, you know, certified by the state? So,
Right.
Let's get, you know, the process down.
Yep.
All right.
Gordy?
Well, yeah, but on the other hand, I am a member of the public. The news media are. Are you going to keep us out as well?
No.
Nobody's out.
We're not gonna keep anyone out.
It's public,
Just-
Okay,
yeah,
that's
we have
what
to
I
have
understood
the
there.
public meeting.
just the way it's, the difference is that the intention of, I think those first meetings are for the board to kind of lay eyes on these things and maybe get a little familiar with what's out there. And then later in the process, I don't want to speak for you here, but later in the process, then more of
That's exactly what I was
a
thinking.
public demo.
A hands-on thing
Yeah.
where the public could access them, and I think they should be all certified machines at the time. I didn't, now that everyone else has commented, I have to comment because I can't hold back. I just find it amazing, or astounding, I might say, that the governor and the Secretary of State sit up in Harrisburg and decide, you know, on a moment's notice, without any input or anything from counties essentially, that, you know, November 2019 is the magic date that we have to have new voting systems in place. Doesn't matter what we have to go through to accomplish that or how much money we have to spend, they care not about that. And I wonder if they're smart enough to even consider these companies. They think they have thousands of these voting machines sitting on a shelf somewhere ready to pull down and sell to the county. So they really haven't made any reasonable considerations without sending this dictate out. So I've said my piece now as well. Anything else for the Board of Elections? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
The motion, the Board of Elections is adjourned.